Okay, so from the School of Artillery, where did you go after the school? What was your first posting?
My first posting was to 4th Field Regiment, 107 Battery. Your first posting is always dear to your heart. 107 Battery.
And did they have L5 packouts, is it?
When I first arrived in 87, I think it was September I got there. In the gun base we had an M2A2, an L5 packouts, and we had a mortar, wheeled mortar.
Yeah, wow.
So, and in a couple of weeks I was there, they did one exercise on the mortars and then they went. I wasn't qualified in the mortar. I had to do the conversion course for the L5 pack howitzer, and then the M2A2 went and we just had L5 pack howitzer. Did the L5 pack howitzer for a number of years, dear to my heart, loved the L5. My father actually served in Malaysia on the L5 pack howitzer, brought it into service at the School of Artillery himself as a gunner. So we have a lot to talk about the L5 pack howitzer.
The old L5, yeah.
The old L5, the old Meccano set.
Yeah, no, they were a good bit of kit, although for me personally, we had M2A2 still in service when I first got to A Battery, but we certainly pulled apart and put back together an L5 packouts.
A lot of gun races, the L5,
gun race and the tattoo in 1988 for our bicentennial, so it was, we certainly knew our way around them, although all we did was fire blanks. We went at the end of the race.
No, my first gun was Charlie gun. Blue Macintosh is my number one. My bombardier was Dave Lear. Lance was Tony Kennedy. We had...
that was the Tony Kennedy, is it?
Yes.
He's still serving, isn't he?
No, he's out. I think he's in the Army Reserve now.
Yeah, okay.
The medic, was it Jezovic? I think it was Jezovic. He became our medic, and he became, I think, RSM of Medical Corps, and also went to higher places in the Australian Defence Force.
Yeah, well.
So I remember those guys quite well.
Yeah. So how many years did you end up doing?
I ended up doing 30 years and 6 months in the Australian Defence Force. Two of those was in Ordnance Corps. It's another story. Then came back to artillery. Ordnance Corps, went to East Timor with 3 Black Hawks. But I was that 2 years I was with the, as they called, the C Regiment, which was the Chinook Squadron.
Yeah, okay.
They called it C Regiment because they could do whatever they want when they wanted.
Yeah, right.
2 years. If you ever go overseas on deployment, you go with helicopters because they don't do it hard.
Yeah.
They had a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, fly everywhere.
And how long were you in Timor for?
91 days.
Yeah, okay.
Just enough to qualify the United Nations and did a rotation, so they just try to get people through as soon as the 91st day come along, qualified, get the next lot of people, and they looked after making sure people qualified to get the active service. I was there with 4RR, saw some interesting things and some close shaves, and I think you had more chance of being killed by the United Nations Russian helicopters than anything else over there. Had a couple of pot shots at us, but interesting time.
And so you've done just over 30 years. What would be your best posting, or would you class as your best posting? Like, you've got some very memorable ones, of course, no doubt, but...
good times and bad times, good postings, bad postings. Back in my day, A Battery was always... if you were in A Battery and you're an Alpha Gun A Battery, if you were the number one bombardier, or even on the gunner or the driver. Back in those days, the drivers were all gunners, carrying the gunner badge and everything. If you were an Alpha Gun, you were number one. You were supreme. You're held in high regard. Unfortunately, these days that thought has seemed to have dwindled away. I've just recently spoken to the BCA battery about maybe bringing something like back to get a bit of spread of core, a bit of competition in the battery, because the A battery's now got their guns back, because their guns went to Ukraine, and then 4 regiment is now going SPs. Their guns have come down to A batteries, so A batteries become a gun battery again, and they're going to try to bring in, you're an alpha gun, you're the number 1 sergeant for the regiment, for the corps, and try to install that again. So people want to, back in my day, you used to have to fight to get the A battery, you had to, because of the parachuting and so forth, but my goal at the time was to be on alpha gun, being number 1. I was posted there as a bombardier. I did 3 years at A battery before I went over to school over to Manly, before Manly was closed down and moved to Puckapunyal.
Did you ever do any time at Puckapunyal for the school?
Puckapunyal, there's another story there. I got posted to Puckapunyal, helped the school move to Puckapunyal. I was going on promotion there to Puckapunyal, and then was blackmailed. Cool. Went to Puckapunyal with my wife, got a house and everything, and all of a sudden came back. Actually flew my wife down in a C-130 Hercules and another number of ladies, and we all got married quarters and everything, and got back, and the acting RSM, Mick Mahardy, called me, and he said, bring your wife up, I need to speak to you. And they said, the Corps actually wants a sergeant in Townsville. Instead of being promoted, you can go to Puckapunyal but stay as a bombardier, or go to Townsville on promotion, instead of the other way around. Go to be promoted and still go to Puckapunyal. My wife was a Townsville girl. I spent most of her life in Townsville, and she said, okay, no worries, no, we'll go back to Townsville. Got to Townsville after 6 months. There was such an exodus after Puckapunyal. No one wanted to go to Puckapunyal after that. And they said, no, you've got a posting on here, you're going to Puckapunyal. And I virtually turned around and said, my wife's got a job, and so forth, and young families just got our heels in the ground in the process of purchasing a house and so forth, and I said, you can get nicked. And that posting got overturned, so I ended up staying back in Forfield as a sergeant.
Well, on the subject of your beautiful wife, our wives know each other quite well. They're off at bingo at the moment, probably putting our paychecks through the poker machines. But after 30 years or so, because you've been married for quite some time, haven't you?
Well, I've been out of the army now for 9 years. So another story of why I got out and how I got out. But my wife and I have been married for coming up 34 years this year in September. I did make a mistake after discharging. I said, darling, you followed me around for 30, just under 30 years. And I said to her, 32 years, you followed me around, virtually. And I said to her, I made a big mistake. I said, you followed me around, it's my turn now to follow you around. She reminds me every morning.
Yeah, I've no doubt. They
every morning she
remind you. Yes.